Okay, Chris Butler, Sam Fell,
Hey,
thank you
yes.
very much for talking to Skwigly today. We're here talking about ParaNorman. Can you give us a little bit of an introduction to yourselves, just a brief one first before we get started?
Well, we both have directed the movie ParaNorman. It's an American movie made in America with American characters.
And two Brits.
And two Brits directing it, yeah. And it sort of comes from both of our sort of love of American movies of the 80s, really, you know, like Goonies and Ghostbusters. Chris actually wrote the script and came up with the idea
Many years ago.
Yeah.
Probably about 16 years ago now. Because I work in storyboarding, or always have worked in storyboarding, so I'm always working on other people's stories. And over the years, I kept working on this idea of a stop-motion zombie movie for kids. And yeah, it became this nod to all the kinds of movies and TV shows that I grew up watching. And yeah, John Carpenter meets John Hughes. That's the central idea. And we both directed it. Sam came on board.
2009.
2009.
Yeah, once we got going, it took us about 2.5-3 years to make this film.
I think one of the unique selling points of this film is that it's got quite a mature feel to it. It doesn't dumb down to
No,
the
that's
characters
right.
or anything like that. It's quite a level of maturity throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Natural or...
Yeah.
For me, no, I'm very immature. No, it was intentional because I think it's something of a reaction to a lot of kids' movies, not all of them, but a lot of kids' movies that I do feel take a too polished look at the world. For me, the stuff that I really remember and the stuff that meant a lot to me and shaped me into who I was and made me want to even pursue filmmaking, it was the more challenging stuff. It was the more sophisticated stuff from a story point of view. It was the scarier stuff. So I kind of wanted to go back to that a little. And the 80s was a great era for family movie making. There were some amazing movies made in that time, which we both loved.
Yeah, a little bit edgier. And what I love about this film is that it's great for tweens and teens, actually. And they're a really difficult bunch, you know, because everyone goes, oh, yeah, animation's for kids. But all of the teenagers that have seen this, that we know, you know, have really responded well to it, you know. So it's truly a family movie, actually. You know, like there's stuff in there for parents, there's funny stuff for the kids, but there's also stuff for that middle range as well.
Oh, I enjoyed it. I found myself in that range, I would say.
Yeah.
But slightly too old for animation, supposedly.
Yeah, but
really,
yeah.
they really
Never
do.
too old.
Never too excellent, yeah.
Yeah.
The look of the films, it's gorgeous. The team at Leica, they really go lead the way.
Yeah.
So something as trivial as emptying a bin early on in the film, it's just it's the envy of like model hobbyists and other filmmakers. You know, so do any scenes stick out in your mind as difficult to achieve? Any sort of technical?
Yeah, for different reasons actually. I mean, there's scenes like at the start of the movie, something that's actually really simple, like a piece of plastic bag fluttering on a chain link fence. And it's the kind of thing that you don't often see in stop motion, partly because that whole build exists for one shot, and it's not one shot that furthers the story. So ordinarily, that would be the shot to go. You'd have some producer saying that costs too much, it's too much time, and it's not important, get rid. And it was the kind of stuff that we really fought to keep. So in a sense, that was tricky stuff as well, you know, because we were doing something that was actually pretty subtle, and there were a lot of locations that exist just for a fleeting, you know, moment in the movie.
They definitely push the boundaries at both ends, you know, like the subtle, detailed end. There's a scene in the first act where the two boys, Norman and Neil, are just in the garden with a stick and a dog, and it's so difficult to make animation just feel naturalistic and kind of spontaneous, and just make it feel like the characters are just chatting. So the acting in that, it doesn't look spectacular, but it actually is.
Very difficult, precise, you know, performance that we were asking from our animators. And then, of course, you know, at the climax of the movie, we've got probably one of the most... We don't actually want to give too much away because we want people to see it, but we kind of basically blew the whole world up.
Yeah.
And we used 2D animation, CG. We used every trick in the book to make that a spectacular, you know, climax to the movie.
Big, yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about the design and the look of the film? Obviously, you've got a few homages to the films that you were watching and enjoying, but I see a lot of horror comics and those zombie films that you're telling us about. Can you tell us a little bit how that influenced the film?
Yeah, well, it's definitely, I mean, like Chris said, it's sort of come from John Carpenter, you know, John Carpenter meets John Hughes, so a lot of it is full of homage. The overall look of the film, we wanted it to have a kind of a messed up, kind of rough kind of
asymmetry.
Look, didn't we? Asymmetry was the kind of key word, yeah. And a lot of it came from the character design, the original character designs.
Yeah.
Part
of the appeal, I think, of stop motion is that it is handmade. It does have this handcrafted feel. And I think what makes that appealing in the first place is that it's imperfect, and that registers with an audience. I think it's very easy to design things, you know, these graphic, slick, perfectly polished shapes. And that works for CG, but it removes you slightly. There's nothing quite beats that hand-stitched costume on a physical object. I think the asymmetry kind of accentuated that. It's not perfect, purposefully not perfect. Yeah. But then we also, in the color scheme, we referenced a lot of Italian horror movies of the 70s. You know, Fulci and Bava and Argento, and that was because we wanted to do the horror thing, but we wanted to do it in a slightly different way than you've seen before. We've all seen Gothic, we've all seen black and white, and you know, Tim Burton does it incredibly well. So we didn't really want to go there. We wanted to have our own voice.
Excellent. Cool. Thank you very much for talking to Skwigly today.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks a lot.